Hello, and well, welcome to another War Thunder video, and hope you like the new intro because I'm going to be sticking with that for a while. And anyway, here is the Japanese ass-backwards plane itself, the J7W Shinden. So, battle rating of 5.7 in arcade, in realistic. It is 6.0, and I'll do realistic for this thing at a later date if I feel up to committing ritual suicide, and I will get onto that later. So anyway, as you can probably tell, this thing is not yet spaded. However, the only thing I have left is the engine, and I'm about halfway done with this. And then I've got the guns, obviously. So anyway. Current top speed is 467 mph, current turn time is 28.9, current climb rate is 24.2. However, if the modifications tab is to be believed, then the max turn time is going to be 28.8, and the max climb rate is going to be 26.1. And that's in meters per second, by the way, not in feet per second. So, here is the armor profile. Yes, it's a Japanese plane with armor. I know. The world is coming to an end. So there's a 16mm steel plate right here, and by the way, these holes are where the guns actually go through. I'll show that when we get to the X-ray. 70mm of bulletproof glass, sloped back at 52 degrees as the bulletproof windscreen. And here we go, and as you can see, the 4 30mm are sitting behind that 16mm armor plate, and of course the guns go through those holes, like I mentioned. I don't know what this little triangle piece here is for. I guess it's just for like lightening the plane a little bit, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, this thing is basically made out of fuel tanks. There is 2 oil cooling systems at the very edge of the wingtips. Everything else on the wings is fuel tanks. There's a fuel tank right underneath the pilot. There's an oil cooling system right behind him. And then there are 2 oil cooling systems on each side of the one on each side of the engine. And then the engine itself is a 18-cylinder radial with 1841 horsepower. So yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know in the garage, or in the hangar, excuse me. However, one thing that I have to get out of the way right now. Oh, and by the way, it is capable of either carrying 2 60 kilos or 4 60 kilos. I personally don't use these. However, if you want to, a 60 kilo bomb will knock out a light pillbox in one hit. So there you go. But anyway, the guns, or rather the belts. So, the 30mm Type 5 belts, the default belts in particular, suck. And the reason is because these belts almost never kill anything. In fact, I have yet to score a kill in less than 3 reloads with Japanese default 30mm belts. 3 reloads to get 1 kill. Okay? That is over 600 rounds. Let's see. 24 times 3... Yeah, that would be over 600 rounds. I think that would be closer to 800 rounds, actually, before just getting 1 kill. So, what I highly recommend every single person who is going for the J7W do, when you get the J7, either buy the fuselage repair or the radiator, either one, perfectly fine. They really don't do anything to the flight performance at all. And then buy the 30mm belts immediately and set them to either universal, tracer, or stealth. Whichever one you want to use, it's perfectly fine with me. Just don't use the ground target ammo. It sucks. So you can either use universal or tracer or stealth. It's perfectly fine. Just buy the 30mm belts. It's only going to be like $3, $3 US at most. It's going to be like six or seven at most. So that's really cheap. Another thing is that the 30 mils, as you can see, they do spray a little bit when they are stock. However, I imagine that when they're spaded, they'll be perfectly fine. There won't be any problems with them. So yeah, go ahead and get that out of the way now. As you can see, 3 meters dispersion at 500 meters is what the stat card on this reads, or at least that's what it will remove. Although I think that's about how much it is already. So yeah, they do spray a little bit, but it's not like they're going to be coming... It's not like the shells come 90 degrees out the barrel or anything like they do on the stock Bearcat. Or on the stock Canon Corsair. It's not like that at all. In fact, at about, at about 600 or 700 meters, you do notice the dispersion, but they're still pretty close together. So, yeah, it's not really anything major. Like I said, it's not like stock Bearcat cannons or anything. So yeah. Also, a little bit of a disclaimer before we go on to the 2 matches that I have for you today. The first match was played when I only had the tier 1 and 2 upgrades. So that would be all of these upgrades right here. That was when the first match was played, and then I was researching the wing repair. The second match that I'm going to show you is just after I had gotten the engine injection. So this is after I had gotten the wing repair and the engine injection. And I was working on the cover. So that is a little bit of a disclaimer to get out of the way now. And also, one more thing. When you do buy the 30mm belts, I'm going to go ahead and advise you to do this. Because, and you're going to think I'm crazy for saying this, but go ahead and get, so like, say you buy the fuselage repair and you don't buy the radiator, but you do buy the 30mm belts, like you should. Go back and research the radiator, the compressor, and the airframe, just to go ahead and get all of those out of the way. And then I would say go for the wing repair, and then go for engine injection, cover, and engine. Honestly, that's how I would do it, is whichever one of these 2 you buy, then buy this, and then go back and get the other one, and then get the compressor and airframe in any order that you want. And then I would say get the wing repair, the engine, the cover, and the engine injection, the cover, and then finally the engine, and then the very last upgrade should really be the 30mm. So that is my advice for actually upgrading this plane, and I highly advise that you follow this. As we are going to see in this video, or in the 2 matches that I have for you, I strongly advise that you follow that, okay? And I'm going to show you why. Alright, so here is the first match that I have today. like I said, this was only played with the Tier 2 upgrades unlocked, or the Tier 1 and 2 upgrades unlocked. This was, like I said, before I had gotten the wing repair. So, what is this plane like when it's fresh out of the box? Well, it's not like any other plane in War Thunder. This is completely unique, and I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way because I know people are going to ask me about this. I know that anyone who sees this video is going to immediately compare it to the XP55. This is not an XP55. This is nothing even remotely similar to the XP55. It's nothing like the XP at all. The guns are different, the way you fly it is different, the durability is different, the engine is different. Every single possible thing about this aircraft is completely different from the XP55. They are just complete polar opposites of each other. Literally, they are complete polar opposites. And the reason for that is you can't turn fight in this thing. And you don't have the ammunition to take down many planes. You don't have the guns to really take down anything except for bombers. And you don't have... the guns spark too much to be able to take down anything. Not only that, but like I said, you don't have a lot of ammunition. You only have 60 rounds per gun, which is, 240. 240 total. That's not a lot. You can blow through about 2/3 of your ammunition before you jam the guns. That's what we're talking about here. And that is on... that's not on an ace crew, that's on an expert crew. You can get through about 2/3 of your ammo load before you jam the guns. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Also, this thing has no energy retention at all. Turning in this plane immediately destroys your speed, especially with the flaps. It's just... oh, it's horrible. And by the way, this is what I meant by it's really difficult to shoot anything down. I'm actually out of ammunition. I got 2 Dornier kills, and I'm out of ammunition. So this is advice to anyone who wants to fly this thing in realistic. Get used to landing this plane. Really, get used to landing this thing, because you're going to be doing it a lot. I only got 2 kills on a pair of Dorniers before I ran out of ammunition. And you Japanese pilots, you're not going to be dealing with Dorniers, you're going to be dealing with B-17s. B-17s and B-29s. Get used to having to reload a lot, okay? But anyway, this thing, it's just unlike the XP55. If you turn fight in this thing, you are dead. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you even attempt to get into a turn fight, you are dead. And it's just instantly, you're dead. You're not going to be able to have the energy to get out. You're not going to be able to have the maneuverability to win the turn fight. And you're not going to have the dive speed to be able to accelerate away if you are at a high enough altitude. They will catch you, they will kill you. If they do not outright kill you in the turn fight itself. This is something for all J7W pilots, or all wannabe J7 pilots. If you turn fight, you are dead. Like I said, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You turn, you're dead. And this is something that I'm probably going to have to elaborate on in the next match, when I come to that, in which I will go into depth about the like the overall handling characteristics and really how you fly this plane. But for this match, the reason why you're not seeing me making any aggressive maneuvers is because I learned very quickly exactly how you fly this aircraft. And it makes... this plane will not let you fly it. It will not let you do whatever you want it to do. It will make you fly it the way it wants you to fly it. And if you try to argue, you will die. It's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you try to argue with this thing, you are going to die. And it is going to kill you. That's not like... it's not going to be any fault of your own. Unless you do something stupid, but I'll get onto that in a bit. But if you do not learn how to fly this plane, and you try to argue with it, it will kill you. And it will not show you mercy. It will just flick of the switch, you're dead. Like, and there's no cheating death in this plane. You cannot cheat death. And you really don't have any ammunition either, which is what really sucks about it. Not only that, but I seem to find that if you're doing good in the plane, you're a target, because of the reputation that this plane's guns have. That's the guns, not the plane itself, just the guns. Most of the people who I've actually been in a match with, if they recognize the plane, they will try to kill you. Either that, or they're going to run. They're not going to want to put up with a fight. They're just going to want to get rid of you or get away from you as soon as humanly possible. If they can recognize the aircraft, they are not going to want to have anything to do with you. But anyway, I will get on to how this plane flies in a minute. Just blow that G10 out of the air. And yeah, how about we move on to the next match? Alright, so here we are in the second match, and like I said, this was when I had just gotten my engine injection and started working on the cover, so that will give you a kind of a implication as to where I am with this plane. So, what are the biggest drawbacks to this aircraft? And basically, how does this aircraft perform? How does it fly? Well, the elevator is really stiff. And it is kind of like either a 190, a Corsair, or a P-47. It can turn, but it's only that first turn. And it's really only at high speed when you really get the full turning potential of this aircraft. And like I said, it's only the first turn. Your speed, the second that first turn is up, your speed plummets. I mean, really, it plummets. Also, yeah, there's the energy retention for you, by the way. Also, if you're paying attention to the speedometer, of course, which, by the way, pay attention to the speedometer in this match. You'd be amazed how little energy retention this thing has. So anyway, what else about this aircraft? Well, as you saw, the roll rate is pretty good, and the roll rate really is the only good thing about this aircraft in terms of its overall flight characteristics. It's not maneuverable at all. Also, the rudders on this thing are horrible. I don't think I really need to mention that, but yeah, they're horrible. Yes. Dive speed. Dive speed and rate of climb are horrible on this aircraft. Maybe that's just me, but after having flown the 109K, the Bearcat, and by the way, little side note, that took all of my ammunition to put down that Sterling. After shooting at that B-17, I took a reload, I just emptied my entire magazine into that Sterling. That's how long it took me to shoot that thing down, and most of those things were hits, and they were sparks. So, there you go, there is that right there for you. So, anyway. Maybe it's just because I've flown and spaded the LA-9, the Bearcat, the K4, the 109 K4, the Tempest 2, the Sea Fury. I've flown the spaded. I floated Tempest 5 when that thing's spaded. I've flown all of these planes. I have a spaded Ki-84 too. I've flown that. In fact, I've spaded all of the Ki-84s. So maybe it's just that I've flown way too many aircraft, but this thing's dive speed is horrifying. This thing's dive speed, when it is stock, is the same as a stock TA-152. That is how bad this thing's stock dive speed is. And this thing is not very heavy. It's only got the 430 mils, which aren't really that heavy in comparison to the engine. It's got that armor plate, and it's got the bulletproof glass. Really, the only weight that I can see is the engine and the fuel. And this thing is not maneuverable. It's slow. The climb rate, even when it's almost spaded, is pretty bad due to the energy retention. I mean, the climb rate is pretty good, don't get me wrong. But the energy retention sucks. I mean, it really does suck. I mean, just pay attention to the speedometer in this match, like I said. Just watch how my speed drops. And by the way, here's the maneuverability for you. That's a Spitfire. Yeah, sure, I shouldn't be getting into a dogfight with a Spitfire. If that guy wanted to kill me, he could have. He could have just pointed his nose up, put a single burst into me, and I would have been dead. So I got lucky there. And just look at how slow this plane is. Not only that, not only is the dive speed horrible, not only is the energy retention horrible, not only is the maneuverability horrible, but the acceleration is horrible. Look at how slowly this plane is accelerating. This plane, as far as my knowledge goes, this thing accelerates slower than an ME-262. And I have spaded the ME-262. I have 2 spaded ME-262s. This thing, I swear to God, it accelerates slower than that thing does. I swear to God. This thing, a 1945 vintage propeller-driven fighter, piston-driven fighter, accelerates worse than a 1940s jet. Like a 1944 first ever jet powered fighter. And the 262 has the same armament that this thing has. In fact, I think it might be heavier because of the ammunition. So yeah. But anyway, the other thing is that this thing is not very easy to fly at all. As you can see in this match, you really have to know what you're doing. And I can tell you from experience, right now, especially in arcade, If you do not know exactly what you are doing 100% of the time, you are going to die. And there is no if, no ands, no buts about it. You are going to die. You are too slow to outrun anything at your own tier. Hell, there was a wildcat on my ass that was catching me. I'm outrunning him now because he's broken off. But that F4F right there, Mailman 88, he was catching me after I shot down that Sterling. And the F4F is not the best fighter in the game in terms of its speed. I mean, there are many other planes that are renowned for their speed. The F4F is not one of them. So, oh, and this was lucky right here. Head on with a Spitfire Mark 9, blow it up. Don't get into a head-on pass with this thing unless you're really good unless you're a really good shot. But anyway. You have to know what you're doing in this plane. You're too slow to outrun anything. You don't have the maneuverability to turn anything. You do not have the energy retention to run away from anything for a long period of time. You do not have the dive speed to be able to accelerate away from anything. If you have the opportunity to dive, you will be caught by 109s, you will be caught by 190s, you will be caught by P-47s and P-51s. Hell, you'll be caught by you'll be caught by K-ID-4s. And you do not have the raw acceleration to get away from anybody in a level flight race. This thing can be out accelerated by any 190 or 109 in the game, except for maybe the early F models and the E models. And the B, obviously, but nobody flies that thing. Nobody flies that thing if they absolutely have to. Really, the only good thing that the only good function that this plane has is for shooting down bombers. But it doesn't have the durability to sustain engagements with bombers. That's the problem with this. Yeah, sure, it's great for shooting down bombers with those 30mm cannon, but it doesn't have the durability. It's a flying fuel canister, and it's very fragile. As a Japanese plane, after all, it's a very light aircraft. So, you really have to you really do have to take care of this aircraft. It's imperative that you take care of this plane when you're flying it. If you just make that one little misjudgment, you're dead. Literally. If you turn at the wrong time, you're out without friendlies for just that little second too long. You turn the throttle down for just a little second. You drop the flaps by accident. You're dead. There's just no way of recovering. They will catch you. They will kill you. So, then all of that said, how do you actually succeed in this aircraft? Well, it takes a certain kind of pilot. This is not a plane for everybody in the game. You have to be a certain kind of pilot in order to be good in this aircraft. And how about we go back to the hangar, and I will continue after having my engine shot out by that cunt 109 on the arse. So, like I was saying, this is not an aircraft for everybody. You really do have to be a certain kind of pilot in order to get the best out of this aircraft. And I mean that. Do not take my words lightly here. This is not a plane that even most pilots, most good pilots, can pick up and fly. You have to be very, very, very good at managing your energy having extremely high amounts of situational awareness, having extraordinary abilities with energy conservation and energy generation. You have to have very, very good trigger discipline. You cannot take shots that you do not want to. If you do not like the shot, you do not take the shot. And you also have to take care of your aircraft. This is not a plane that you can be careless in. This is a very, very, very fragile aircraft. It is, like I said, it doesn't have the speed to outrun anything. It doesn't have the acceleration to win a drag race. It doesn't have the maneuverability to outturn anything. It doesn't have the dive speed to run away from anything. And it doesn't have the ammunition to defend itself in a prolonged engagement. Now, I'm going to compare this to the 190 here. The 190 and the P-47. The 190 has speed on its side. It also has a little bit of maneuverability if you know how to use it properly. It also has ammunition, and it has better guns. Now, I can already hear you crying and moaning about the fact that this thing has 30 millimeters and the 190s only have 20s or 130 at best. The reason why I say that this thing has worse guns than a 190 is because this thing's guns do not work. This thing does have 430 millimeters, but I can shoot down a Sterling in less time and with less ammunition than it takes to do in this thing. Like I said, after I'd shot down that B-17 at the start of that second match, I went for a reload immediately and then emptied my entire magazine into a single Sterling that was already extremely battered by a 190. And it took 240 30mm shells to put a single Sterling down. That is how bad these guns are. And it's not to do with any fault of my own. It's not the fact that I'm a bad shot or anything. It was because these guns spark way too damn much. And it really is because of that. And I know that there are some people out there, that are already saying, "Oh, you're a fucking idiot anyway. Why are you even condemning Japanese 30 mils? They're 30 mils. Shut up and be happy with it." I've played the Germans, I have all of the German planes in the entire fucking game. These 30 mils suck, and there's no way around it. I don't care if that's the only armament that the fucking plane has. Give me 20 mils, at the very least. Give me Japanese 20 millimeters. I will be happy with those. Just not with these. These things suck. They really do suck. And another thing is, the 190 is probably the best comparison in terms of how to fly it. You fly the 190 like you fly a J7W like you fly a 190. You get to a high altitude, and you either go bomber hunting, or you boom and zoom. Or even better, you fly this thing like you would fly a P-47 air to air. You don't get into turn fights. You don't do anything stupid. You go to a higher altitude than anything else on the map, preferably 5,000-6,000 meters, and you just boom and zoom all game long. You do that in realistic, and you have to do that in arcade. Like I said, you cannot do anything stupid in this aircraft. If you do, you will die. The second you start dropping the flaps and getting into a turn fight, you might as well bail out of the plane. You're dead. And another thing that I should probably go ahead and mention, this thing is expensive. Look at the maximum repair cost. 8,364 lions to repair this thing. I haven't even spaded it yet. And the engine is another 333 to the repair cost. The guns is another 129, so I'm still not done with this yet. Why do I need to buy my stealth bills back? What the fuck? Okay, I'll just go with that. That's weird. Anyway, so yeah, this is not with a spaded aircraft even, and that's still over 8,000 lions to repair. So, for anybody who is going down the Japanese line, and you're getting into tier 4, you're almost at the home stretch. You're researching your Nickies, you're researching your N1Ks, your N1K2s. You're really excited to get those things. You're getting your J2Ms. This thing is a huge disappointment. And it's not going to be a disappointment for people who are going to learn extremely quickly how to fly this thing. It's going to be a disappointment for those of you who have been struggling all your time to get through all of these fighters. And that's your lot. It's either the Ki-84s or that. And honestly, Ki-84s, the N1K2s, they are much better than this thing. And I like the J7. Don't get me wrong, I like this plane. But I like it because it's a challenge. It's a challenge to fly. You really have to be good to fly this plane effectively. If you do something stupid, you are dead, and there's no getting around that. If you do something stupid, you are going to die. And, go ahead, brush me off all you want. But believe me, please, at the very least, listen to this. Those of you people who are really just saying, oh yeah, that's impossible. Yeah, sure, go ahead. You're just faking it. You're making all this shit up. Okay, go ahead. Go get this thing. Go get into a turn fight. Come back and tell me how it went. Come back and tell me how it ended up. I guarantee you will have died miserably in a burning wreck. You will have died. And yeah, it's you can't do anything about it, really. It's okay, so that fixed it. Honestly, you cannot turn fight in this aircraft at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a great plane. I really do like it. But you have to be good. You really do have to be good. So, in conclusion, since I know this video has already gone on for quite some time, no turn fighting, manage your energy, manage your ammunition, take care of your plane, and do not do anything never with this plane do anything stupid. Okay? If you do one stupid thing or you make one silly mistake, you are going to be punished for it. And I know I'm making this sound really, really over the top, but I'm not kidding. If you make one mistake, you are going to die. And that's in arcade, not even in realistic. In arcade, you make one fuck up, you are dead. So there you go. That's the J7W. And for those of you who are looking to shoot it, you want to know how to shoot these things down, if you can't get above it, you get him to do something stupid. Because the second you get him to start blowing his energy and to start doing something stupid, you got him. It really is just as simple as that. So, there you go. Hope you guys found this helpful for those of you who want to know how to fly this thing. And also for those of you who are looking to figure out how the hell to shoot this thing down, there you go. That's how you shoot it down. And I'm going to go ahead and finish spading this thing, so I'll see you guys later.